story begins with a young Chinese woman named Mulan. China had just gone to war with the Huns, and men from every family were being drafted to fight for China. Mulan, after realizing her elderly father was too old and injured to fight, takes matters into her own hands. After cutting her hair and pulling it up to disguise herself as a boy, she steals her father's armor and sets off in his place. While Mulan is out fighting the war, the police grow suspicious about why Fa Zhu is not in the war when the Fa family has no son to take his place.
Fa Zhu, may I have a moment to come to your home and speak with you?
No, only if you have a warrant. It's protected to me by the Fourth Amendment of search and seizure.
Well, I'm a police officer, which gives me the right to search your property.
No.
After finding evidence, the police officer rushes back to the police station to tell the others. Outraged by the news, the police place the evidence on the table, never entering it into a chain of custody and issue an arrest warrant for Fa Mulan. They rush back to the Fa residence to inform Fa Zhu that when his daughter returns, she will be arrested for identity theft. Fa Zhu is outraged by the police's actions and worried for what this means for his daughter's future. Months pass, and the police wait every day for her to return, when one day, she finally does.
Mother, Father, I'm home!
Oh, Mulan, thank goodness you're safe.
Well, of course, Dad, I told you I would come home.
You need to leave. It's not safe.
Mulan.
It's not safe. It's not safe. Breaking and entering.
Put your hands where I can see them. You're under arrest.
You can't take my daughter.
I'm sorry, sir. Your daughter's under arrest for stolen identity.
No!
You have the right to remain silent and other rights.
No!
I'm taking you to jail.
No!
The police and Mulan quickly leave the scene. Now in jail, her father comes to visit her.
I'm sorry you're stuck here, daughter. We'll get you out of this. How have the police gone about this is not right. We know the standard comes from Farmers United States, which discussed the admissibility of systolic blood pressure to such test as evidence. The court in Fryer held that the expert testimony must be based on scientific methods that are significantly established and accepted. They have not followed any scientific method at all, and why the Dobbin Court fourth and more flexible in jury envisioned by Rule 702, not to mention that both General Electric Chair Rich Joyner and Kumo Rich Carmichael both helped to create the judge role as a gatekeeper against faulty and unreliable evidence, you should be fine.
Do not worry so much, Father. Besides, I have the right to a speedy trial which is protected by the Sixth Amendment.
Thank goodness, it couldn't come fast enough.
Then we can put this whole thing behind us.
Yes, I'm ready for my daughter to be home. Oh, well, Mulan, it looks like my visit is up. I love you, sweetheart. Be careful.
The time has come for Mulan's court case. People around the village have begun to call it Mulan versus the state. Identity theft out of love for her father or disrespect to the Chinese Empire.
Hear ye, hear ye. All rise for the Honorable Judge Chen. We are here today in the court case of Mulan versus the state on account for a charge of identity theft. Representing Mulan is Madam Lin, and representing China is Madam Nin.
Order! Order in the court. The court is now in session. Prosecutor, you may now start with your opening statement to the jury.
Thank you, Judge Chen. To the jury, thank you for being here. I would like to start off with the law that states that a son may take the presence of his father in war, not a woman. Deliberately knowing this, Fa Mulan stole her father's identity and rushed off to war without a second thought. Not only is that not proper for a lady, she broke the law. As such, I hope you, the jury, can see what she truly did. Thank you.
Defense, you may now approach the jury with your opening statements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jury, war is a dangerous place. What respectable young woman would willingly rush off to war?
These are charges against my client that are obscene and impossible. There's no way a woman could disguise herself as a man and go and fight in a war. We do not have the physical strength, and on top of it, there are other physical features of a feminine that cannot be hidden easily.
The police have found evidence against Fa Mulan. We have hair samples collected from the scene of the crime that were found cut on the floor. We have had our labs tested them, and they are a perfect match to Fa Mulan. Based on this individual evidence, and by the length of hair, you can tell it was cut, and that you see Mulan's hair is shorter from the last time anyone saw her. This must have made it easier for her to disguise herself as a man. There is also the noticeable absence of a family armory, which reappeared when Mulan arrived home. Finally, we have a journal entry where she states, "I worry for my father. He was so badly injured, I don't think he could make it through, especially at this age. But don't worry, I have a plan. I won't let him die. I am young and able to take his place." This is direct evidence against her. She clearly planned from the start not to let her father go off to war. Not to mention the date Mulan was absent and the time in which her father was fighting the war, even though he was seen walking around the village. All evidence points back to her being guilty.
Defense, you may review the statement.
Now, after reviewing all of the evidence that was collected, we, the defense, have come to the conclusion that this evidence was not admissible in the court in the first place. First, the police officer entered the premise and collected evidence without a warrant, which violates the Fourth Amendment. On top of that, he collected it alone. So how can we know when the evidence is reliable if he was there alone and could have planted it? He collected it without gloves, and he did not separate the evidence. It was all sitting together for months, just in a random spot, we don't know where, and it was never once entered into a chain of custody. How is that reliable? How is that reliable in court against my client? I don't know.
Is this true? Was this evidence taken without a warrant?
The police have reason to believe Fa Zhu is hiding something.
Yet there's no documentation of where this evidence was gathered and no warrant issued either?
No?
This evidence was never fit to be seen in court and now is being thrown out of this case. To continue forward, prosecutor, do you have any witnesses to call to the stand?
Not at this moment, Your Honor.
Defense, you may call any witnesses you have present to stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. We will be calling the police officer to the stand. Please raise your right hand. Put it over them. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Why were you on the Fa family residence without a warrant?
I had reason to believe that Fa Mulan had stolen her father's identity.
Without informing anyone else of your suspicion? And you went and collected evidence all by yourself?
Yes.
And since there is no documentation of the collection of the evidence, and you were by yourself, or did you plant something?
I plead the fifth.
The courtroom is outraged, and the jury is quickly called to deliver a final verdict. Finally, after some time, they return to the scene and give the judge their verdict.
Hearing, everybody in order in the court? Okay. While the prosecutor attempted to establish a precedent, their prima facie has many holes in it and was not a trustworthy statement. As much, the jury has decided that Fa Mulan is not guilty. Woohoo! Mulan!
The courtroom fills with cheers, and Mulan celebrates with her father. Off to the side, you can see the officer visibly angry.
She was so guilty. How could they not see it? Well, if you had not been an idiot and followed proper procedures, then maybe things would have turned out differently. Also, I'm happy for her. She did this for her father and not out of glory.
In the end, due to the improper collection of evidence, Mulan was set free with the verdict of not guilty. Her and her family lived happily ever after,